Hello everyone, it's been quite a while since my last Star Wars Black Series video, so I thought it was time to finally catch up and take a look at Dash Rendar, one of my most wanted figures from this series in terms of the expanded universe, because I've waxed lyrical about Shadows of the Empire across my channel many times in many different videos, but I love that multimedia event. I was the right age for it, and Dash Rendar is one of those original characters who we only really saw in that event. I don't think we've really seen too much of him since, and I have a huge soft spot for him. Yes, I realise that he is just a Han Solo ripoff or a stand-in, but I still think he's a character in his own right, and of course anyone who played the Shadows of the Empire computer game will also identify with this character. Anyway, you're all busy people, I'm sure, so let's kick off with the review. Now, if we take a look at the packaging, it is the standard Black Series packaging. It's the more modern type, so it is a bit more of a sturdy, actual oblong box. I actually really like this. I think this works really well. It's nice and neat and compact. In terms of the layout and design, it's not overly impressive. We see a bit of a purple background there. We can actually see the Outrider inside that inlay card, which is pretty nice. Otherwise, it is just black borders, and yeah, there's a splash of purple here which helps things, but yeah, it's a little bit dull. But at least we have the window display to show off the figure in all of his glory. Now, if we take a look at the side panel, we can see this really nice artist rendition of the character. I think this is original artwork commissioned for this release, I believe, but I really like the approach. I think the artwork is brilliant, and I like how they've got that grading going from the purple into the grey. I think that works perfectly well. It looks pretty nice, and I suspect it looks as if this box might join up with the previous release, which was Prince Xizor, and we might actually get a bit of a bigger image here is what I'm sensing, which would be absolutely fantastic. Now, if we flip it over and look at the reverse of the packaging, we have a slightly enlarged image that we see on the side panel there, and a little bit of bio, an awful lot of small print, which isn't too appealing, but I think the highlight of this packaging is the side profile, especially if you can stack these up with other figures in the series to create a larger montage. That would be absolutely fantastic. Now, I have to be honest, when I opened the figure up, I was initially a little bit underwhelmed, and part of that is to do with the colours and how dull this figure appears overall, but we'll get into that. If we start off by taking a look at the head sculpt, I must admit this felt really off to me. Now, we don't have a lot of sources or photo references to draw on, I suppose. Most of this is artwork, and of course it does vary from artist to artist, but we do have some stills taken directly from the computer game. We have a whole range of paintings done by the Hildebrand brothers, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think we've got a fairly consistent approach. He tends to have somewhat shorter hair, I would say, than what he has here on this sculpt. And I can't help but when I look at this, but see Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. Like, this is like a dead ringer. It's almost like they used him as the model for this figure. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence. It just feels too sharp to be a coincidence, surely. But hey, if anyone wants to have a sort of 5-inch scale Jaime, they could pop the head off this thing and put it on another figure, and I think you'd have a dead ringer there. I don't think this is a bad sculpt by any stretch of the imagination. It just doesn't feel right for Dash. Now, in terms of sculpting, I think there's a lot of new elements here. Certainly the central torso piece, this armor piece. I don't think we've seen this before, especially that sort of quilted shoulder pad design. That is unique to this character, and I don't think we've seen that in any other previous releases in any way. Likewise, the armor, but also the torso there, again, is kind of quilted down the center, and that is all sculpted in. It isn't just drawn on or painted on, which is great. So there feels like there's quite a lot going on here that's brand new and specific to this release, and I always appreciate that, and I think that works really well. Makes the figure feel distinct and unique. However, my major criticism would be the fact that there's not really much going on in the way of paint apps. This is a pretty standard quibble of mine, but we're seeing some nice sculpting, but nothing in the way of washes to really draw out the detail, or extra paints here and there just to really, bring it to life. And unfortunately, the plastic they've used is kind of dull, so it does feel a bit flat and two-dimensional and a little bit underwhelming. Now, if we move on to the articulation, he has 2 points of articulation in the neck, one at the base of the neck and one at the top of the head there. So his head can rotate all the way around, it can lean left and right at really good distance, and it can nod forwards and backwards a little bit too. Not so much back because of the sort of mullet that he's got, but, he can bend forwards, which is fine. Now, his shoulder pad, thankfully, is movable, so of course you can lift the bolt joints in the shoulders up and out. He has a single pin at the elbow, which is unusual. He can bend his arm to about 90 degrees, and of course that can rotate all the way around. And he also has 2 points of swivel action when it comes to the wrist, one at the top of the gauntlet and one at the wrist itself. And the handle rotates all the way around and kind of wobble. It doesn't really hinge so much. He has a single ball joint in the top of the torso there, neatly hidden under that armor, so he can rotate all the way around, and he can lean left and right a pretty healthy distance, which is really nice to see. Likewise, he can bend forwards and backwards, but not as much as you might expect. Now he's got ball joints in the hips, the legs will kick out to the side. Sadly, there's not much in the way of swiveling action up here. It will wobble a little bit, but not a huge amount. But there is another single pin, this time at the knee, so this lower leg can rotate all the way around, both at the knee and also at the boot cut as well. Now the leg will kick forwards and it will come backwards a little bit with a hinge at the knee to about 90 degrees, and then we have the standard ankle pivot, so that foot will hinge forwards and backwards, and it will also rock from side to side. In terms of accessories, he only comes with this standard blaster. It's not even a unique blaster to Dash, and I've got to be honest, whilst he holds it nice and tightly in his grip and he looks pretty cool while doing so, this is really underwhelming that we're not getting anything additional with Dash, because again, being the hero of the computer game where he carries an awful lot of weapons in that game, you'd think they would have given him something either unique to this character, or if they wanted to save on tooling costs, they could have just given plenty of recycled weapons that we've seen elsewhere, various blasters and whatnot, rifles, etc., that we've seen on other figures in the past. Instead, we just get this one solitary little blaster, which I got to admit makes me feel a little bit shortchanged. And so sadly, that's all there really is to say about Dash. So I'm going to give this figure just 3 stars. It's fine, it's serviceable. I really wanted this character, and I'm really glad to finally have him, but overall I do feel disappointed and a bit underwhelmed by him. I think the sculpting is quite nice in terms of the costume and the bodywork, and I think that's really good, and I appreciate that, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more in the way of paint apps, some washes, etc. I'm really disappointed by the weapons, as you can tell, and then in terms of the head sculpt, it's just a bit distracting and a bit weird, and again, it's not quite what I think of as Dash, and that might be more on me than the sculptors, but it just feels slightly off somehow. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving the video a like. That kind of thing really does help the channel out, and it allows me to keep making more content. And if you're interested in seeing more content, remember to hit subscribe, as there'll be plenty more videos coming soon.